Good morning and welcome to the final in our series of 8 webcasts for the Year of Natural Scotland. I'm Ian Forsyth and today we're going to be looking at technology as the last one in the series. Fascinating subject which we'll move into in a second or two. Before we go any further though, the usual reminder for those of you who have been with us a few times and for those who are new, there's a chat box on the left hand side. Please, if you want to submit questions during the webcast, just type your question into the box at the bottom and hit enter and it will appear on the screen. And I'll get them fed through here and be able to ask our experts during the show. The other thing I would say is by all means, chat among yourselves during the chat. There's no rules here about basically whether you should be paying attention to the chat box or whether you should be paying attention to what's on the screen. It's up to you. There will be a watch again in terms of the actual video part of the day, so you'll be able to look at that on the HIE website subsequently. Before we move into technology, however, what I would like to do, as we've done every week, is move over to an interview that we recorded with Mark Crothall, the Chief Executive of the Scottish Tourism Alliance. Mark is talking about Tourism Scotland 2020 and saying a little bit about technology as well. So let's hear what Mark has to say.
Hi, my name's Mark Crothall. I'm the Chief Executive of the Scottish Tourism Alliance. We're the industry body, the overarching industry body, who are here to help you facilitate and coordinate and deliver the Tourism Strategy 2020. As it says on the front page of this document, the future of our industry is in our hands. Tourism 2020 is just about that. The Scottish Tourism Alliance are here to facilitate and support in every way we can to help you, operators and industry, to maximise the growth to its full potential. There are 7 big key messages that really drive out of this strategy document. First and foremost, we have to improve the quality, everything and at every stage of the customer journey. Secondly, as operators, we have to understand our markets and our visitors and adapt our product to suit their needs. The third point is we've got to focus on what is great and really distinctive in the regions that are about this country, and how we can actually maximise them and use them as a basis for providing truly authentic, memorable experiences. The fourth point is that as operators and individuals, we have to trust one another, we have to collaborate together so that collectively we can provide that connection of experience and extend the customer's stay so that they go home and at no point of their journey or their stay in Scotland will they actually have an experience that gives them a reason to doubt about returning. We need to plan for sustainability. That's about serving wherever possible at all times good food, local drink, and providing great local hospitality. I touched on marketing. Marketing is about marketing why people should want to visit and come to your establishment or come to experience your activity. It's not about the what, it's the why that will make the difference. And last and most importantly, our strategy, what underpins it is leadership. And you, in your own areas of expertise, in your own small domains, whether it be a large hotel or a small B&B, or you are an activity provider, you have to foster that leadership. It's about growing your team for the future as well, leading by example and driving home what will be those truly memorable experiences for those who choose to visit Scotland in 2013 and beyond. Marketing and technology, for some of us it's a challenge depending on which part of Scotland you're in. But we all have a responsibility to do it. To grow your business with real success, you have to get it right and you have to do everything you can. My tip, and I think many others are, and the secret to the success is actually marketing the reason why people should visit Scotland and why they should come to your establishment or why they should want to experience the experience that you offer. It's not about the what, it's the why that makes the difference, and that's where you can get that message out. If you have your own website, key is to make it current and keep it active and live and informative. And actually, better still, if you can keep your prices really sharp and your availability up to date, then there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to maximise your business to its full potential. Technology, important to us today, specifically about how we market our businesses. And hopefully this will allow you to find out a bit more and how you can get better at it.
Well, thanks, Mark. He makes a good point there about it's not about the what in relation to technology, it's the why do you use it, what are the benefits of using technology. It's been a recurring theme through the previous 7 episodes from many of the participants that technology plays a key part in making the most of their business opportunities. And today I have with me a couple of real experts, both in terms of tourism and in terms of technology. I'd like to introduce you first to Rennie Looper from Toomins Social Media. Rennie, I think, is probably well known to most people around the tourism sector. I've seen him talking at many events and usually very enthralling and interesting. Rennie, tell us a little bit more about what your specific job is. What do you do?
Yeah, we help businesses with their online presence, because online presence becomes more and more important. And as you quite rightly said, especially in the tourism sector, as an ex-OTA myself, I recognize the needs of having a good web presence, and it becomes even more important now with social media. So we help businesses with their online presence and with their social media presence, and not spending too much time on it. That's the main thing, because we all know about Facebook and Twitter and YouTube and all these sort of things. A lot of businesses are on it, not quite sure how to do it. They waste a lot of time, and that's where we come in. We make sure that they don't waste too much time on social media, but make it more effective.
So maximum return for minimum input. Just had to make sure I got that right.
Yes.
And of course, I should say for our viewers that if you want to go onto Twitter, Rennie revealed yesterday what age he is live on Twitter. So there's an opportunity for you to find out a little bit more about him. I'm also delighted to welcome David Sim from Open Brawley. It said in your little bio on the HIE page that you had been involved with the web since 1994, which is like really going back to the early
Despite my
days.
youthful good looks.
Tell us a little bit more about what you do, David.
To some extent, we're very similar to what Rennie does, but looking at, I suppose, different aspects of technology. I mean, the point you made that it's about why you should use technology and what you should use. It's a bit of a minefield. So we're helping people understand what they should use, and particularly looking at the new technologies that are coming out. So we've got mobile devices, we've got iPads and tablet devices, and we've still got people using the web. How do you get that to hang together, and how much money do you have to spend on it to get it to work? And then that's really what we're there to do, is help people understand that, and then help them build solutions that enable them to take advantage of that.
Okay. And I think one of the things that's been a recurring theme through, as I said earlier, through all 7 previous episodes, have been a lot of the people that we've been talking to have mentioned various aspects of technology, whether it's been social media, whether it's been online booking systems or reviews or YouTube. Obviously it's important, but what do you think are the keys in terms of technology in tourism?
I've always been a big believer that technology needs to help a business. Unfortunately, what happens is that businesses are not quite sure how to use technology. And technology has moved on, as you know, in the last couple of years as well. Something that cost thousands of pounds years ago is now almost free available. And it's really in this time and age where customers use the internet and social media to decide on their holiday destinations, to decide on where to go. It becomes more and more important to have a good online presence, but not only that, it's also having a good database, having an online booking system that makes it easy for people to book their stay. And people are very impatient on the internet. If they have to click on a few more things, then they get lost. And it's sometimes, when you look at websites, they make it not easy for people to buy stuff. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where technology comes in, that it doesn't have to cost a lot of money. And David mentioned mobile as well. The mobile revolution, of course, is more and more important. How does your website look on a mobile device? Is it actually easy for people who are in the area to find you, instead of zooming in on your website that is not mobile friendly? So in that respect, technology should help businesses, making it easier for customers to find them on the internet and make the booking.
Yeah, what would you answer that?
I think that it's great points. I mean, the mobile revolution in particular. I mean, people who would never have touched a computer in their lives now carry about a mobile phone that is effectively a small computer, and that gives us, particularly in the tourism industry, an opportunity to reach people when they're in a destination, when they're actually out and about, whereas before all the emphasis was about trying to capture people before they arrived in the area. So it's fundamentally changed the way people use computing. People, as Rennie says, have very high expectations of being able to do something very quickly. So if you're on your mobile phone, you don't necessarily want to wade through literature before you can just book a ticket. And I think thinking about the customers, but also think about as a business what you're trying to do. You ultimately you're trying to get sales, or if your destination you're trying to get sales for your members, or get people to come to an area. Is very important, because you can get carried away. You can spend an awful lot of money on technology and not necessarily meet your objectives.
Yeah. The whole series has been about the Year of Natural Scotland and how that can be used to enhance the visitor experience and how that can be used to attract more people. You've touched on a number of areas already, but if we were to cut to the crux of it, what do you think, what's the role of technology in enhancing the visitor experience?
I think it's, especially with social media, it's such an easy way now to find your customers who are in the thinking stage of coming to Scotland, but also if they're already in Scotland. And especially Twitter is a fantastic tool to wow customers, and I think that's what's important this day and age. And I've done a presentation not so long ago for a group of hotels, and they said as well, good is not good enough, we need to wow the customers. And the technology is there, the opportunities are there, but grab those opportunities to wow those customers. And I always find it delightful when I see people on Twitter asking questions about their stay in Scotland. I'm going to Edinburgh, what should I do? And tourism business are coming back and helping the prospective customer with planning their stay, and that's one of those things that I find is very good. Businesses that start with Facebook and Twitter, connecting with the customers and make them aware what's available, and not just promoting their own hotel or attraction, they're actually promoting the area. And the more businesses that do that in the area, the more attractive the area is. And that's what I like about the social media. It makes it easier for businesses to work together.
Right.
Yeah, I think that idea of connection is actually a very strong one, and actually there's opportunities now with technology for businesses to work together to create packages. So exactly as Rennie describes, to perhaps share information about other things you can do in the area. If you're an accommodation provider, then that sells your accommodation as a great place to come to, because there's so much else to do, but you're also helping other businesses. And through Facebook, through mobile applications, through websites, you can create packages for customers that perhaps would have been very difficult to do before. They're almost like virtual packages, virtual tours can be constructed now at relatively little expense.
You both mentioned, social media is essentially, is probably a key part in relation to technology. I think probably people, in my experience, divide themselves into one of two camps. Either they're mad keen, or else, what on earth's that?
Yes.
Why do I want to be involved? For anyone watching today who's looking and saying, well, why? I haven't done it so far. What would your tips be? What would your selling point be for getting involved with social media, and how should you do that?
Interesting point. A couple of weeks ago I was in Edinburgh preparing for a presentation in the evening. I was sitting in the hotel lobby, and there were two people in their 70s talking about social media. So obviously I listened in, and the lady in her 70s said, "Oh, I don't like social media." And then the guy said something, and I thought, I have to remember this. He said, "You don't have to like it, but people using it." And it's like a telephone. I don't like a telephone, but people are using it. And that's the thing, you might not like social media, Facebook and Twitter, all that sort of stuff, but your customers are using it. And if your customers are using it, then it becomes an opportunity for you to market your business and to connect with potential customers. The big problem with social media is that people all of a sudden think, I need to be on social media, I need to create a Facebook page, I need to create a Twitter account to run it. Then they don't really understand the channel, how it works. They get sort of switched off, and they're not using it anymore. And that's the sort of the bigger problem. Essentially, social media is like any other marketing channel. Think about your customers. Are your customers using it? How do they use it? And if my customers are not on Facebook, don't use Facebook. If your customers are on YouTube, focus on YouTube. TripAdvisor for the tourism industry is an obvious one. Unfortunately, there's still this feeling in the tourism sector. TripAdvisor, businesses hate it, customers love it, and that's the sort of the mismatch that's going on now. And years ago, you might have got away with it, but nowadays the customers are on TripAdvisor, are on Facebook and on Twitter and are using it. The big thing is think about how do I connect with my customers, listen first, see how other businesses use it, look at the language. Twitter can be very daunting for a lot of people because of the language.
Yeah.
See how other businesses use. Look at your competition, and it doesn't have to be the competition in the same town, it can be in England or in the US. See how they use it and what sort of effect they have. And so, but that's the difficulty for a lot of business. There's so many channels where they can now sort of promote themselves and market themselves. Which one to use? Do I use them all? I would never advise that. Have a look at the ones that feels good. And some people love Facebook and get great results for Facebook, but don't like Twitter and then don't use Twitter. So it's a combination of what fits in your business and your personality, but more important, are your customers using it?
And if your customers are using it, you've got to be too.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think different businesses have different success rates when they use social media. So it is that, like every piece of technology, it's the pragmatic use of it. To some extent, I think social media is almost a given now that it's like having a phone or like having an email address.
Yeah.
You have to have some level of engagement. But it may be that if you're trying to reach 30 former customers, writing them a handwritten letter might be more appropriate than sitting on Facebook stalking them.
Yeah.
But equally, I think it's if you're trying to reach a market, you're trying to get to people who are nearby, using something like Twitter and searching for the word Aviemore or Inverness, and finding out what people are doing. I mean, it's a very powerful resource if you can harness it.
Yeah, and I like your point at the beginning about you don't need to like it. I mean, it's a bit like saying I'm not a vegetarian. That doesn't mean to say you don't put a vegetarian option on your menu.
Yeah,
same sort of principle. So I'm going to cut to one of the questions from the audience here, and it's from Mike. It's a fairly specific one here. He's asking about has anyone any experience of using VoIP, which I think is Voice over Internet Protocol, phone systems in their business. He's looking at it, but has heard mixed feedback on usefulness and quality. Have you any experience of VoIP?
We actually use that, and I think it's got better. We use a company called Gradwell, who no affiliation with other than the fact that we use them. It gives you a certain degree of flexibility if you're a business like we are, where very often everyone's out of the office. It does give you the flexibility to divert your calls elsewhere. You can manage your calls in certain ways. You can set up voicemails that goes to your email and things like that, which are very useful for a business like us. In terms of the reliability, it really does come down to the quality of your internet connection wherever you are at the time. And there's a number of factors in that. So, I mean, to some extent, a lot of these packages you can try out, and just see how they work for you. But definitely, there are still issues, I think, with reliability. They're not as reliable as a standard phone, but they do give you a huge amount of flexibility. And for us as a business, the trade-off is worth it.
What do you think are the key kind of applications for it? How would you use it at a practical level from a business perspective?
I think it is I think primarily it's the flexibility. I mean, if you have a phone line installed in your office, then that's where you reach that phone typically.
Yeah.
If you have a number of people you work with, again, we will use it to divert calls to a home worker. Who can tap into and we can divert calls to someone who's working elsewhere without telling people to hang up and dial a different number.
Right.
So it's that kind of flexibility where you don't perhaps have a traditional setup. You're not all sat in one location, one office, and you want to, but still treat it as a single organisation or group of people.
Right. So it kind of essentially expands your phone capability.
Yeah, exactly. And if you've got people working in different places with you or for you, then it can be very helpful in managing that, which again would have been quite expensive if you were using traditional phone switches and so on.
I assume the advice would be to anyone then thinking about using something like that to probably put in a search engine and see what comes up. And do most of the providers offer a trial package to start?
A lot of them do. The only issue you sometimes have is you might have to buy a VoIP phone.
Right.
So there might be, although a lot of them you can get software to run on if you've got a mobile phone, an iPhone or an Android phone, one of these smartphones. Yeah. You can run the software on there. So you can usually try these things out, but definitely going onto the internet, searching around, seeing what comments people have about the service. Like so much It's the same is true of broadband and people who support your network. It's usually okay until something goes wrong, and it's how the company responds to that is usually quite important. And you never find that out without going to, Facebook, Twitter, and review sites and so on.
Okay, see what people are saying about it. Got another question from Avril, which is building a little bit on what you hinted at earlier, Rennie. I won't read it all out, but essentially what she's saying is there are so many things out there: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, YouTube. But her question is, what is the most effective and productive way of using all of these without spending all day on social media?
That's a very good question. It's like I said in earlier on, it's not about using all social media channels. It's making a decision on, first of all, are my customers hanging out there? And I speak to different customers, and different customers have different sort of clientele, obviously, and also for one customer, Facebook and Twitter might be ideal. For another customer, it's Pinterest and YouTube, for example. So it's making a decision on where are my customers hanging out, where do I feel comfortable with, and set up the systems that allows you to manage those channels. That makes you aware of if someone posted on your Facebook page, you get an email or a notification on your screen to say, hey, someone has responded. And it's creating a sort of a dashboard almost, where you say, well, these are my social media channels. How do I know if someone has been posting, has been mentioning me? And to be honest, it is quite a challenge for a lot of businesses. When I run the hotel, the only thing I needed to do online was keep track of my emails, and my website needs to be up to date. Now there is TripAdvisor, Facebook, Pinterest, all these things. And Avril is absolutely right. How do I manage all these things? First of all, I always mention Google Alerts. I know it's something I mention all the time, but that's the easy way to find out if people have been mentioning your business anywhere on the internet. So if people mention you on Pinterest or YouTube or anyone else, and have used your business name, you can find out the next day, and that means you need to reply to that. And it's making itself, the trick with social media is not the more time I spend on it, the better. It's actually not. The less time you spend on it, the better. Make sure, but I have to be honest, to create that dashboard that allows you to manage your time, that will cost a little bit of time. You need to set up the systems first that allows you, when I come in the morning, I open up my dashboard, I can see what I've been mentioned on the internet, I need to respond. If I've not been mentioned, I have nothing to say, close it. Move on with your day job and open it again in the afternoon. And the good thing with social media, it's all online, you can track everything. And that's the other thing that allows businesses to measure the success. And I'm sure that question will come up as well. You need to measure what is the impact of me being on Facebook, on Twitter and YouTube, and have a timeline where you think, okay, I'm starting here, 3 months later or 6 months later, what has been the impact? Did we get more sales? Did we get more hits to the website? Google Analytics, another fantastic free tool that's there for businesses to find out how people have found the website. Was that through Facebook? Was that through YouTube? So getting the systems in place, that is the starting point. If you have that allows you to sort of manage your social media a lot better.
And you mentioned there, Rennie, the fact that you should find out where your customers hang out. Is there any tips either of you can give in terms of working out, if I'm going to invest time, where am I most likely to have people out there who are interested in what I've got to say?
I think to some extent, you can try and research this, and that just yourself go on being, posing as one of your customers and trying to see where there's information, where people are talking. But equally, speaking to other businesses in your area, where are they getting success? Where, one of our clients finds enormous success on YouTube, just because people are, they're involved in activities, and it lends itself very well to video, and people love to see, mountain bikers, going down tracks and so on. So I think it is very much just speaking to other people is very helpful in this, and I think it's a key piece of research we tend to forget, when we're dealing with online media, that very often it's the business next door. actually has some experience of this and knows about this.
Right.
There are some tools like Hootsuite, Conversocial and Sprout Social that enable people to get the streams in from Facebook, from Twitter, from LinkedIn, and see where they're being mentioned and where they need to respond on. But yeah, it is a big issue, and with all this social media, we tend to forget that forums, for example, are still very, very important. If you're in the mountain biking sector, join a mountain biking forum, not so much to promote your business, but more, what questions do people have? Is that something we can help with? And LinkedIn, again, another fantastic social media tool, where you can connect with like-minded people from all over the world that share tips, new developments and that sort of things, and that keeps you up to date with what you should be doing, and especially coming back to the customer all the time.
Yeah.
But if you're a photographer and you go to photography or NetMoms, for example, NetMoms is another fantastic. I have to admit, I recently joined NetMoms, or my wife joined NetMoms. But it's fascinating to see what sort of tips people are sharing. It is not just about babies; it's about where to go with the family in Edinburgh, in the Highlands, in Orkney.
Right.
And people ask questions, and people respond to those questions, and it's a very powerful medium. Money saving expert, NetMoms I mentioned. There's lots of other forums where you can sort of hang out, see if your customers are hanging out and what type of questions they have, and that's very, very.
Okay, so look for forums that might touch on what you do.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I think for many people, they no sooner got to come to terms with the idea of social media, and then along comes apps. That's the next thing, and who knows what's next around the corner. But Admiral's also asked a question about any mobile apps we could link into in the tourism business as an accommodation provider. Mobile apps for accommodation providers, what are the ones we should be looking at there? Are there any?
Well, there are destinations like the Avimore and Kingdom destination that produce an app. There's Welcome to Scotland that have produced an app, which makes it easier for people to, when they are in Scotland, to find out the nearest accommodation provider, the nearest restaurant, the nearest cafe. Facebook has an app.
There's a lot of local search apps like Quip. There's TripAdvisor itself has an app, and these are. If you're registered with these services, then you're going to be listed, and that's actually getting more and more important. One of the big developments in mobile phones is to kind of preempt what you want to know. So if you've travelled to Edinburgh for the day, a lot of the new phones will actually be giving you information. So this is the places you can eat. This is things you can do. This is your flight times. It's quite sophisticated. Mm-hmm. But you have to be on these databases. You have to be listed on the services they use. Yell is one that's used a lot by these mobile phones. If you're not listed on Yell, you simply won't appear when people are looking on their phone. Yeah. And again, managing this is a longer term management thing, that you're managing the reviews that you're getting and trying to up your star ratings. Because I've been in Glasgow, used my mobile phone, had no knowledge of the restaurants I was going to. I just wanted to find one nearby because it was pouring with rain. Yeah. And literally we went there based on a 5-star rating on the app that we happened to be using. And that was the entire basis for choosing that restaurant. It was nearby and it had a good rating, and that's not a Michelin star rating or anything like that. It's just peer reviews.
So I also assume that if you went on to any of the app stores, depending on what devices you're using, you'd be able to do some kind of search around tourism. Is that a reasonable way to? If
it's an iPhone, for example, you can go on and they've got a travel section, and you'll find there's a lot of apps in there along these lines. As Rennie says, there's specialist ones that have been and can be produced for destinations or for groups of businesses. You get apps around particular interests, so walking, there's a number of apps to support walkers. But there are these general directories. There's a Google app, there's Yell and TripAdvisor and all the other ones we've mentioned.
But that comes back to working together in tourism. I mean, for any individual business, it's quite expensive to produce an app. Yeah. But by being part of a destination that have an app, then you're on it. And your customers can find you, and that's a great resource for any business that's in a destination that have an app. you're on it. You don't have to invest in it yourself. It's your part of the destination, and therefore people can find you on the HIE store.
Yeah, it's a great idea. And this idea of collaborating
Yeah.
with other businesses does enable you to do things. If you're a group of mountain biking businesses in an area and you've got an idea for an app, it's going to be obviously much less expensive to produce it as a group of businesses than doing it yourself. And you'll have a lot more to put onto it as well. It'll be a much more interesting app. Because I think people are getting a little bit weighed down with hundreds of apps that perform very niche functions on their phone.
Yeah. Okay. Move on, because Lindsay has asked whether any market research has been undertaken to identify what tourism users want on or for their tablet or smartphone.
Yeah, quite a bit. And Google have done quite a bit of research. One thing is obviously just the sheer numbers of this. It was pointed out to me that a presentation I did, I think 6 months ago, said there were 20 million iPad users, and now it's 100 million iPad users. So the growth curve is enormous. People use these things in different ways, and again, that's something I think we have to start thinking about, which is maybe not something we did when we were just thinking about a website. If you're using a mobile phone, it's very much about, visitors will tend to be using them when they're trying to get to a hotel, they're trying to find something, they want to know the price of something, they want to book a ticket, and they want to get in very quickly, do what they need to do and get out again. Whereas on tablet devices, the research suggests that people are very often researching. They're sitting on their chair, they're using it like a magazine, browsing photographs, looking at videos. So you've actually, and there's ways of managing this, but you've almost got 3 different propositions. You've got the website, which is very often transactional, so people are going on, they're finding out information, they're booking tickets. You've got the tablets, which are far more about browsing and researching, and people doing this months before they plan to go on holiday. And then you've got the mobile devices, and certainly if your target's business travel, mobile devices are absolutely critical, because a lot of business people live off their mobile phones.
That's interesting, because we've had a question from Elma who's talking about VoIP, but also talking about the quality of mobile coverage and being a huge issue. Do the experts, so no pressure here, do the experts know what, if anything, is happening to improve things in rural areas? Are there improvements of it?
There are some developments, whether they're happening quickly enough. It's definitely an issue, and to some extent, the work we've done work in the Cairngorms to build apps, and so much of it was around dealing with poor mobile phone connectivity, and so much work had to go into that. So allowing people to access things when they don't have any connection at all, because it's nothing more frustrating than going around the corner on, and even in what we'd call major population centres like Aviemore, the mobile signal can be patchy. And in some respects, that's even harder to deal with, is intermittent and poor mobile reception than just no mobile reception at all. So it's kind of dealing with these issues. That they're definitely there. There will be a rollout, but again, we're seeing a 4G rollout, which is the next super fast. Plenty of ads on the TV for it at the moment. This super fast mobile broadband, which will be fantastic, but I don't think we'll be seeing it here. Right. I think Aberdeen's getting it 2014. So for a lot of rural areas, it'll be some time to come.
Some rural areas where 3G is.
Exactly. Where I live, we're still on 2G, and it is. You do have to take that into account. There are issues around it, but I think the timescales they're driven by commercial reality to some extent, and I think there is some public sector funding in place, but it will take a while for that really to have an impact. So, looking forward for the next 2-3 years, we have to build around that and find other ways of getting information in front of mobile users. Right.
Okay, so not necessarily a hugely optimistic picture, but you find a way around it.
Yeah, well, certainly for the cities and things, where we're talking Glasgow, Edinburgh, and Aberdeen, the picture's slightly brighter, and that will enable new sorts of very video-led, interactive audio on mobile devices. So audio tours, standing in front of buildings, looking at videos, exciting applications that were perhaps very difficult to deliver to mobile devices. So it depends where you are, and this is the future. It's just when the future is going to arrive, we'll be staggered. But certainly in the major cities.
Uh-huh.
We can already start to look at some quite exciting applications of this technology.
So that was a nice phrase. This is the future. I think one of the things that people are always thinking is, what is the next big thing? We've had social media, we've had apps, we had the internet. But I mean, all those things have come along.
Yeah.
What's your hot tip? What's the next big thing?
Well, mobile in a way is that's not necessarily the next big thing because it's already there. But it becomes more and more important, and we see it with websites that we have Google Analytics on. Web traffic from mobiles every year seems to double up. Years ago it started with 5% mobile traffic, then it became 10%, now it's almost 30% in some businesses. So mobile becomes really, really important. That comes back to have a look how your website looks on a mobile device. Is it really easy to navigate? The other big thing, and I mean every week there's new social media channels popping up. I think the next big thing will be sort of niche social media markets. So you have Facebook where you connect with everybody, but then there might be a social media channel for mountain bikers or for people in another industry. This will not go away. This is not just a blip that is popular just now, and 2 years later nobody's going to talk about social media. It will not go away. The principle that people can now quite easily connect with each other, share information through mobile devices, share reviews on mobile devices. And you see it on TripAdvisor and Quite as well. Very often now when people write a review, it's not from the desktop, it's from a mobile device. And very often it's from people who are there. And that's the challenge. The challenge is, as I mentioned before, is be aware of what's happening around you. Your customers are using it and mainly from mobile devices, and that's sort of a challenge. So have the systems in place. The main thing in social media is make sure that your business knows how to use it, and I think I always said that I think social media for smaller businesses is actually an advantage compared to bigger businesses, because what social media is all about is about you. It's the business owner and the passion and the expertise of the business owner. You're much better to share that information through social media, through Facebook and Twitter, than through your static website. I mean, I'm not saying websites are no use. Websites are big use. That's your information channel, but it doesn't bring out the expertise, the likeliness factor, and people want to connect with businesses. Not so much in the sales way. That's what your website does, but in sort of an informal, almost it is personal. And that's what customers are looking for and expect it, and that's the now come to think of it, that's the other big thing. When people they used to send emails if they want the information, now they send a message on Facebook and on Twitter, and they expect an answer back. And that's just going to grow more and more. So email, David knows as well. Emails become less and less important. Social media becomes more important because it's direct and it's quick.
Can I just pick up with both of you, just to finish off, in terms of, you mentioned with the website aspect of things there, in terms of a business developing its sort of online reputation, what are the kind of do's and don'ts in relation to your website? What are the key tips you would give people?
I think it comes back to you need to think what people are using the website for. Again, one of our clients has completely reviewed their website because they realised people were going to the website, and what people wanted to do was find out when they were open and buy tickets. And what their website was about was all sorts of the history of the business, the local area and so on, which is not to say you don't have those things, but I think people, they are accessing things on the move more. There's so much information and so much to do on the internet now that before people might have browsed websites, now they just want to do things. And I think it really is not necessarily stripping out all that lovely prose, but making sure that you can absolutely hit the nail in terms of, you go on the front page of the website, lets you book and do what you need to do. And I think that's how people will actually, ultimately, we want to make money out of the internet and out of our use of the internet. And whether it's your website, whether it's an app, it's thinking about letting people get very quickly to what they need to do.
And to have some kind of transaction with you then.
Yeah.
I always think it's interesting that so many people use Amazon, and yet very few people have probably ever been on the homepage of Amazon. It's usually straight through to what they want to buy.
Absolutely.
That sounds like the sort of principle we're
it is,
about.
yeah. And if you do have information, obviously, I mean, it's great for search engines. People find it interesting, the background to your site, but it's almost having a purpose behind it. Which is leading. Never lose sight of the book now button, which is again a lesson from Amazon.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a single page on Amazon you can go to that doesn't have some call to action, something you can do in terms of buying, and it could simply be sign up to a Facebook account, join us on Facebook, join us on Twitter, add a review, but there should be something everywhere.
Yeah. And it needs to link to each other as well. So the website needs to link to the social media channels and to TripAdvisor, but also back. And very often you see great videos on YouTube of activities and places to go. Fantastic video, but not a link back to the website.
Right.
And that's a sort of a missed opportunity. It's exactly like David said, it needs to be a call to action. Make it easy for people to click on things. People on the internet are lazy. They just want to click.
It's got to be quick.
Got
to be quick. Well, I think the one thing we've probably learned from this, guys, is that we could probably go on chatting for at least another 45 minutes. There's a few questions here that we've also not been able to answer, so maybe if you could take 5 minutes at the end just to go into the chat box for us and answer. So everybody out there, if we didn't run to your questions, Rennie and David will go into the chat box as soon as we're finished, have a quick look at those questions and post some answers for you so that no one's question gets ignored at the end of the day. So a huge thanks to both of you. It's been really fascinating listening to what you've had to say, and also how it's linked back to some of the previous guests we've had on the show. What we're going to do now is just cut to a final take with Scott Armstrong of Visit Scotland, who's going to just take us through some interesting facts and figures, some of which I think will probably blow you away in relation to technology. And after that, we'll come back for a quick word with Audrey McLennan of Highlands and Islands Enterprise.
Technology, how to shine online. In an increasingly technologically advanced world, it is important to consider which technology options could boost your business. Create a buzz through social media such as Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Flickr, and blogs to promote, communicate, and enhance your business image. Turn interest into bookings by attracting more visitors with online bookings, getting smarter with payment handling, and selling more to visitors through collective buying sites. Get permission to email previous visitors and send them updates on events and seasonal activities, plus short notice special offers when you have spare capacity off-season. Encourage them to send these emails on to friends. Enhance visitor experience by getting to grips with the apps your visitors use and experiment with location-aware technologies. Build on your success through netiquette, travel review sites, networking with LinkedIn, shaping your marketing strategy through Google, and tailoring your website for your audience. Stay one step ahead of future technologies. It is estimated the internet traffic generated in just 20 homes in 2015 will be equal to the worldwide traffic of 1995.
Certainly one of the things when I heard that from Scott about the 20 families in 2015 generating the same web traffic as the whole internet in 1995 just seemed like a phenomenal figure in terms of the growth. And what both Rennie and David have been saying to us today, I think really gives us a bit of food for thought. But as ever, what we want to do is just to finish off with a quick chat with Audrey McLennan, who's the Senior Tourism Manager at Highlands and Islands Enterprise. Audrey, you've heard what David and Rennie have had to say about technology. What's HIE's take on that?
Well, one of the key thing I must say before I actually say anything else, because connectivity was coming up quite a few times, and certainly for Highlands and Islands Enterprise, our vision is really to create a digital Highlands and Islands right across the entire region, and that's not going to be achieved tomorrow. There's a team in place led by a digital director taking that forward, and I would urge you to go on to the HIE website and you'll see how that's progressing, and you'll see the actions that are in place to sort of make sure that happens as fast as it can. There's also 150 IT guides on there. I was thinking that is a lot, but there are. and they've been written by IT experts, and you can go on there, register and download these guides specifically. And there's also an information technology programme in place, which Adam Bealey is leading on that, one of my colleagues. And again, if you go onto the HIE website, you'll see what's planned for that and how you can access it and support it. So, but I haven't got a guide today.
You haven't got a guide.
I haven't got a guide, but that's not to say there is not one. There is actually a How to Shine online, and it is available on the Tourism Intelligence Scotland website, and you can download it, and there's lots of things there about how to manage your online reputation. There's things about social media, the tips. It's great, and there's a questions a series that you can go through asking what you should be doing, so I would urge you to get that as well. But most importantly, there's two things now that I must not forget to say. This is the last in the series that we've been running at the moment, and when we first set out to do this, it was all about Year of Natural and making sure that we brought business to expertise right to you at your computer or wherever you are today, and to see how basically how you could capitalise in the Year of Natural Scotland. So I'm thinking by the number of people who have sort of signed up for this programme, there's in excess of 1,500 bookings that we've had. But we need to, I need to sort of come out and ask you just a few sort of short brief questions about how you found it and what you'd like to see in the future, because I'd like to sort of pick up again in January and continue with some sort of programme. It will be coming as part of our Tourism Intelligence Scotland service with ourselves, Visit Scotland and Scottish Enterprise. But we really want to sort of make sure that the content that we're bringing to you via the webcast medium is what you want to see. And I think that probably is about it. Okay. I can't believe this is the last one. It's gone so fast.
8 weeks already. Yeah. Well, thanks, Audrey. It's kind of strange today because normally we've both got our little guides that we wave about and we haven't, but as Audrey said, How to Shine online is there on the Tourism Intelligence Scotland website. Make sure you get on there. The other thing that's slightly weird today is normally I'm talking about who's going to be on next week, but as Audrey has said, this is the last in the series. To everyone who's joined us over the 8 weeks, thank you very much. Thanks for your comments. Thanks for all your contributions and questions. It's been fantastic. I also just finally like to say thanks, apart from to Highlands and Islands Enterprise who've sponsored these webcasts, to Forestry Commission Scotland, Scottish Tourism Alliance, Visit Scotland, Scottish Enterprise, Wild Scotland and Scottish Natural Heritage. You would think after 8 weeks I'd probably remember all of that, but it's a long list and they've all played their part in making these webcasts work. We really hope you've enjoyed the series, and as Audrey said, there will be plans for something new in 2013, which is of course the Year of Natural Scotland. Hope you'll all be able to sign up for those and join in on those when they are published. Just watch the HIE website for more information on that. So it just remains for me to say, almost with a tear in my eye, thank you very much for joining us. It's been a fantastic 8 weeks. I hope you have a great Christmas and New Year, whether you're working or whether you're putting your feet up. Make sure you make the most of it. Thanks very much.